Hello and welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast. This is your host, Wes Hilliard, and I'm joined once again by William Gallagher. Our sponsors this week are IDOU and Constant Contact, and if you're a paid subscriber, you won't hear anything about ads. That's for Apple Insider Plus. This week we're going to be talking about living with the betas Part 2. The public betas are out, so we decided to revisit this topic. How have things been going so far? Anything catch on fire? William, are you okay over there? Is this your third iPhone that you've destroyed with the beta, or where were we at?
You really think you're kidding? But I am just off the phone an hour with Apple support trying to fix a problem, and it has not been fixed. Can't prove that it's the betas, but it's the last problem standing, and they're off talking about me and promising to come back with a solution in the next few days.
Goodness.
So, otherwise fine.
What's the issue you're running into?
Logic Pro. Logic Pro is the most delicate app. It's brilliant, but it's delicate. And you're going to call this stupid, but I've done this before. It got so wobbly over some things, certain audio units, certain plugins, and I haven't had any plugins. They're all the ones that came with it, so something's corrupted somewhere. Delete it, wipe everything, start again. I've done this a couple of times over the years, but this time the App Store says, no, you're not getting that back. You're going to pay another £200 to use it.
Oh, goodness.
Even Apple is saying, we can see you got it. It's real, but we can't make it happen. So who knows what's going on. Yeah.
So today, I think we're going to go ahead and dive into public betas. As we were talking about at the top of the show, it's now available for anyone who wants it on pretty much every device you can download it on. I think the only thing you still can't really do... No, actually, HomePods are also part of the public beta, so pretty much everything can download the betas these days. William, what do you say about downloading betas? Good, bad?
I say don't do what I do what I say on this one. I mentioned that I had an hour problem today, well, an ongoing problem today. I've had lots of little bits. This is the first one that was major, but I still think I'm lucky. There have been years when I have broken. And I know this is the public beta, which means it's come after 3-4 developer betas, and they all seemed pretty solid. But we're not being paid to be Apple's testers. Let other people do it, and then let Apple find the bugs for it, and let us enjoy the real thing later. It's not that long till it comes. No. I mean, I'm sounding so confident about this, and yet I leapt on the betas. So, yeah, ignore me and don't ignore me. Yeah.
It's complicated as always. If you understand the risks and you're willing to take them, and you're at least somewhat techie enough to understand troubleshooting and, getting into the nitty gritty of if you run into a problem, how to solve it. If you know how to restore back to a previous operating system and have backups to help you, then it's less of an issue. The biggest problem is when people don't know what they're doing and then update to a beta and then lose everything or crash or whatever, and just run into that's, if you're listening to the show, you're probably fine. But as always, the disclaimer is probably don't. September isn't that far away, and you could always be that 1 in a million person who just bricks their entire system. And while we've been lucky so far, I've still run into some pretty critical bugs. We were on our camping trip, not camping, but I guess we went to a cabin, and cellular was pretty weak there anyway, but on top of that, I've had this repeated bug since I think about beta 2, where my eSIM just gives up. It just goes straight to SOS, no matter what I'm doing. It seems to be triggered by a series of events, primarily Bluetooth. If I connect to CarPlay, there's several minutes where it goes LTE, SOS, SOS, LTE, back to 5G, and then goes through that cycle once or twice. And I'll go half an hour without any cell phone signal, period, other than the few blips of 5G that I get every now and then. And that seems to happen almost every time I get in the car with CarPlay, but also randomly when I'm like connecting a Bluetooth controller or something like that. I'm not sure what's happening there. It seems to have gotten better in the latest beta, but I was in the car yesterday and it happened again on CarPlay. So weird things happen, and these critical devices, if you're in an emergency and your phone's currently trying to figure out if it has an eSIM or not, probably not the best situation to be in. So just keep that in mind and always have a backup. Luckily, my Apple Watch has cellular. And in that situation, if I needed to call 911 or something, I could use my watch. If my iPad breaks down, I have a Mac, right? There's there's ways you can mitigate the issues here. You just have to understand what you're doing.
I'll tell you that yesterday I came within a pixel of updating my MacBook Pro to macOS Tahoe, because although I've long had Logic Pro problems, those ones are all sorted. But no, not a chance. No. Logic Pro is working on the MacBook Pro. It's staying on the MacBook Pro, and I'm staying on Sequoia. However, I'd like to just point out that in your list of devices that you rely on, it was iPhone first, Watch second, iPad third, and only then the Mac at the end. You know, we could fall out over you and Macs. We really could.
If all else fails, I can write for the website for my PlayStation's web browser. I think I could figure it out.
Okay.
Because it does have a web browser and you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard. In any case, betas are going to beta. We'll get into it in the Apple Insider Plus segment a little bit more about how things have been going. That was just a taste of beta-ness. But yes, because I want to get into who else has installed the betas. Do we know anyone using the public betas, stuff like that? So stick around for that. If you are not paying, you can go and join our Patreon or go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe there. Get Apple Insider Plus, get more on that. But next up in the list here, so iPhone 17. We've had some interesting stuff, and I want to point out we're very close, right? This is that weird, we're not... Is this silly season? I guess we've entered silly season, because this is where we basically daily get something on iPhone 17, if it's not from Weibo or we're getting Ming Chi Kuo in there or Gurman. Now we're just getting random people in the street. I think the funniest thing about this is this person is a active Twitter X user. They are a known furry, if anyone knows what that is, and they, go full fursuiting and everything. And this person is just like a super nerd. They love tech as well. Just happen to be walking around San Francisco, Union Square, and see this guy holding 2 iPhones, and was like, "Oh, that's the iPhone 17," and just snaps a photo. I guess walks across the square and then snaps another photo from behind because the security guard obviously was not doing that much of a good job here. I was listening to the Accidental Tech podcast, and they mentioned separately, this is a separate thing they were discussing, of it, at Apple there's a policy. If you take any pre-release hardware out of the company, period, this was in response to John Prosser's situation. Usually a bodyguard accompanies the hardware, and there's one bodyguard per piece of hardware. So it's interesting seeing this happen live. Yeah. So this man was with the iPhone prototype, and he would basically use his body to try and block it as best as he could from the larger portion of the crowd. And again, only one person can only do so much. But the question is, why was there an iPhone 17 out in public?
Well, I presume at some point you've got to take it out of the office to see how it works in the real world. I mean, I've accused Apple before of assuming we all have fantastic Wi-Fi because they must do in Apple Park. Yeah, there's got to be some sort of program, although you'd think there'd be more secure areas to walk about in.
Union Square is a interesting choice, I suppose. Big district of people walking around, going to lunch and stuff. I think it just makes sense, though. If you're going to test, let's say, speed data, you need to get into a congested area and test it. How many people are going to notice? I mean, most people barely even realize there are other humans around. They're staring at their feet, shuffling around, hoping no one notices they're alive. It just so happens...
Or they're staring at their phones, actually, to be fair. So
fair. Mm-hmm. Or, trying to find a signal.
Yes.
This happens all the time. Let's be clear. Apple is... We've seen these prototypes before, maybe not in person, but a lot of times these prototype boxes leak out. Kosutami's been known to, I think, get a hold of a few. And what it is this giant case that wraps around the next iPhone. It obscures it in every way. It makes it 10 times thick. And and it makes it just hide every design detail behind this black barrier. We would never notice because it would just look like a regular iPhone. It would just look like a big fat iPhone case on top of an iPhone, except because if this was a regular iPhone update with a regular camera bump, I think this would have just come and gone and no one would have ever noticed. But this has the camera bar, and the case does obscure the camera bar, but it needs to let the LiDAR and flash through. So if you look at the image, you can see the LiDAR and flash all the way on the right side of the phone, suggesting there is a camera bar here. And that's how you were able to identify it as iPhone 17. If this was the 16 Pro Max, you'd never know, because it looks like the 15 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max and so on. So the only other phone, I think, in Apple's history that deviated enough that you can notice it in the wild might have been the iPhone 10.
Yes.
Generation to generation before that and after that, generally speaking, other than maybe shifting the diagonal of a camera bump or whatever, very small, subtle changes, mostly the same. This one is the biggest, most obvious physical outward change. So clearly, we might see another one spotted in the wild. Maybe this leak will be enough to scare Apple into more obscurity, or they'll start carrying an umbrella with the phone and hide it behind that or something. I don't know. But what do you think of this?
Well, there's one thing I don't understand, Inspector. Why did the guy have two iPhones? Was he filming the first one? Was he comparing something? That was what drew the eye, that there were two.
The from behind shot, you can see he is iMessaging someone on the regular phone, and I think he must be running diagnostic software on the iPhone 17 prototype. So clearly he's having a conversation, sharing results on one phone while utilizing whatever he's testing on the other phone. So it makes sense. I don't know what the black piece of tape is for on the regular iPhone. Maybe, if I recall correctly, Apple labels their internal devices so that other iPhone might actually also be Apple's, or might have a name tag or a serial number on the back of it, and that's what he's obscuring with the black tape, because that's not where the Apple logo is. I mean, it's not like you're going to put tape over the Apple logo. It's not an iPhone anymore.
No. I mean, you do see people tape over it in TV shows and things where they're fed up of giving Apple free advertising, but it always attracts my eye, and I think, oh, well, yeah, it's Apple again. But yes, otherwise.
Did you see the conspiracy theories coming out from this, saying that
No.
this is AI generated, it's not real?
No, there's a bit of me. I remember when the camera bump first started, I thought it'd be so much fun if Apple didn't do this, if they had something entirely different and they were fooling us all. And this made me think, well, there's no hope of that now. But suddenly you've given me that hope back. It's a fake. It is possible, I suppose.
So there's people drilling down into this image. First of all, they're like, all right, what is up with the reflection in his glasses? And I figured it out, William. There's a trash can in front of him that isn't visible from his right eye. Conspiracy broken. I don't know why people get so crazy. They're like, his thumb is weird. I don't know what to tell you. They zoomed in from a million miles away. It's going to be an awkward shot. A lot of compression happens. They're like, why is the dark space is noisy and the light space on his shoulder so clear? That's how noise processing works. I don't know what to tell you. It's a real photo. We've actually confirmed that who this person is. So it's a real person in real life holding a real iPhone. And what's crazy about it too is just it just keeps going on. People are like, but he's wearing a sweater. It's July. Have you been to San Francisco? It's cold. They have this weird marina effect thing. I think that's what it's called. San Francisco is just like, it is 89 degrees here in my home in the mountains. But you go to San Francisco same day of the year and it is 67 degrees, right? So just saying. I just find it funny when people try to conspiracy their way out of a situation. But what purpose does it serve? Okay, no, if the image is fake, okay, great. The iPhone 17 is still coming. I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish.
I'm just trying to calculate the difference in Fahrenheit and centigrade. But no, hot and cold. I can get that.
Let's see.
Yeah.
23C here in Tennessee and 16 in San Francisco. I don't know, something like that.
Goodness.
Yeah,
that is a difference.
It's chilly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, conspiracy theory or not, I quite like the odd conspiracy theory, but if you're going to have a conspiracy theory, don't you want to be having something bigger than the next iPhone coming out? I mean, I want something big. I mean, moon landings level of things. So I'm a little disappointed there, but not surprised. No.
I hate Celsius so much. Why is it a unit? That it
right. That's it.
Aggravates me.
Stop there. No,
you know what? It's not. No, 23C is not even right because these fake numbers don't even add up.
Oh, they're not fake numbers.
Okay,
Celsius is the freezing point to the boiling point of water at 100. Fahrenheit is approximately the body heat of a body temperature for it. It starts with nothing. It's an estimate. So.
Yes, but see, I'm not a scientific piece of equipment, so I like measuring my body heat in Fahrenheit because that's human temperature. Anyway, I'm just like teasing you, William.
Right, I tell you, there's John Finnemore, a British radio writer, done a really funny thing of an argument between Mr. Celsius and Mr. Fahrenheit. I will find it and include it in the show links, and just to enjoy how clever the wordplay is, as well as the fact that you're totally wrong. Yeah,
that's fair. The royal units. So to fix my analogy, it is 30C here.
Yeah.
Is that 30? Yeah, like 33 actually. 30. Goodness. My goodness. 32C here. Yes, there we go. It's 32 degrees Celsius here, and San Francisco would be about 19 degrees Celsius.
That's an amazing difference. I mean, I've been to San Francisco and I remember, but that's huge. Yeah.
They're plumb chilly over there. Yeah, I mean, it's, down in a valley and then there's this, ocean thing and water and stuff, science. But yeah, for whatever reason, that little pocket of California stays relatively cold. I don't know why we're on this tangent. He's wearing a sweater. iPhone 17.
No, wait, do we know what sweater it is?
It's important.
Okay, well, it's more important than some things. Less important than others. Yeah.
I will use visual intelligence to find out where I can buy his sweater. Okay. We all need to show up to the iPhone event dressed like this guy with the blue reflective sunglasses and the sweater. Just anyway,
yeah.
What would Apple do if we flash mobbed an iPhone event? That would be so funny. Everyone should just dress up as Tim Cook. There we go. If everyone showed up dressed as Tim Cook, that would be amazing.
How many people would they let through the door before they started noticing and just said no? Okay,
no, you got to go home. We can't have this. Okay, so more iPhone 17 news. Sonny Dixon, who I called the dummy unit purveyor, which is what he is, I guess. He has more dummy units, this time with colors that reflect the rings that he leaked. There are camera covers that are little circles. He revealed those a couple weeks ago or a week ago as we record. And they were some pretty nice colors, but there wasn't much to see. So I guess he went and had entire dummy units made of these colors.
Wow.
Kind of.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah, this was weird. So Pro Max, we got black, silver, white, navy, so it's like a dark blue and orange. Air is black, white, tannish, which I guess is light gold or something, and then blue, which is kind of a light blue. And then the 17, this is where it gets weird, is black, white, blue, and pink. There was no pink camera ring before, so I'm assuming this is what is considered light purple, which is basically kind of a pink hue. And there's no green, which was also in the camera rings, which I think isn't here because of symmetry. Other than those discrepancies, this might be our best look at iPhone 17 other than in Union Square.
Black, white, brown and pink. They sound more like the colours you get when you've fallen over and a bruise is developing. So it turns out just a coincidence of this. I actually missed this one about the dummies. I don't know how. So the colours are his supposition based on the lenses colours before. That seems like quite an extrapolation to go to the full case. Is it convincing?
He got a hold of what seems to be some actual hardware pieces and then just extrapolated an entire device out of it. fine. We'll see soon. The orange seems to be attracting a lot of attention because Pro phones don't get colors, and this is a very colorful color. It's not gold. It's not space gray. It's very vibrant orange. So I think a lot of people will get that. I don't like orange, so I will be sticking with either black or blue, depending on what it looks like.
I was strongly considering not upgrading this year, but blue is tempting me. That's how sophisticated my technology purchasing decisions are.
It's very important.
I like blue. Well, I do think colours are important, especially because I don't then put them in cases. So I get to see the colour for a while longer. But speaking of colours, there was this weird rumour 2-3 weeks ago of one of the iPhones having a sort of iridescent colour that in some way matched Apple glass, and as you tilted it the colour would change in some way. Has that been just kind of forgotten, or was I in fact dreaming?
No, that was a real rumor. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's one of those weird, I don't know, someone somewhere probably made a dummy unit and it just didn't actually come to anything. I think, though, that Apple should utilize the Apple logo. That, like, as gimmicky as that is, I still think it would be fun to make it into some sort of notification system. Just be really silly. That's some like 2014 level smartphone technology. But
so you would have the logo have some circuitry behind it that there possibly isn't room for, because remember they removed the lights from the MacBook, and you would have it on the logo that goes inside the case that nobody can see, or in my case, we put the phone down flat on its back.
It's a terrible idea.
It seems a lot of effort, yes, but
it's almost as bad as curving the edge of your display so that you can show notifications when your phone is face down. Do you remember the Galaxy S7 Edge?
Oh, do you know, I remember every Galaxy number and configuration. Yeah, I wouldn't have known it was one of those, but I do remember curved on the side, and actually I thought that seemed all right, really.
Oh, they were very interesting looking devices because no one else was doing it. But it was useless because no one actually, like, it's the same Android problem as it always is of no one supported it because it's such a fragmented ecosystem, and Samsung's one of 800 devices on the market wasn't going to get special attention from developers.
This episode is brought to you by IDOU. A curious thing, right, about really enjoying your job is that it becomes so easy to take on more there, to become the person everyone turns to, and yet, as great as that can be, you can end up with no time to think about your career. You know where this is going, though. IDOU. That's you as in university, I suppose, but really it's you as in, well, you, yourself. There is never a bad time to transform your professional life, but there is a good time, and it's right now. It's right now as everything is changing because of AI, and yet, through IDOU's whole suite of programs, you can learn how to combine AI tools to get ahead, to boost creativity, and to become the one who can solve the real-world problems that businesses are facing today. There are so many courses for just what you need, but what appeals to me in my working week is how they can include self-paced courses that I can fit in at any time. Myself, I'm interested in using AI to help with design. I mean, not, getting me to draw pictures, but to help me understand processes and sequences, to understand what I can do and expand actually what I think I'm capable of. But there are also cohort courses where you join other learners live and learn from them. And there are in-depth certificate classes that can range anywhere from 2 to 3 months of in-depth study. These certificate and cohort courses start regularly. And of course, self-paced courses, well, they begin the moment you're ready. Class starts soon. So enroll today. For a limited time, IDOU is offering our listeners 15% off site-wide. Go to idou.com/AppleInsider. I need to spell that. That's ideu.com/AppleInsider for 15% off. ideu.com/AppleInsider. And thanks to IDOU for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
But moving on, William, do you think you'll be buying your blue iPhone using an Apple Card this year? Is that a possibility?
It's more of a possibility than it's been for 6 years. And I know what you're getting at here, because although it's far from confirmed, the most recent, most likely rumour is that JP Morgan Chase will replace Goldman Sachs as the backer, I suppose, the provider, the platform for the Apple Card. Even though Apple has explicitly and did explicitly say the Apple Card would spread internationally, it simply never has. It's been US only. And a possible reason, I don't know the strength of this, but a possible reason is that Goldman Sachs seemed to concentrate on US stuff, at least at the consumer level. I mean, it's not doing anything at the consumer level now. It had lots of problems, not just with the Apple Card, the GM card it did, accusations of all sorts of stuff, and it's just basically run away from consumer. But even when things seemed to be going well, it didn't appear to be doing UK stuff, whereas JP Morgan has at least some. It has some base in the UK and presumably other places. So I am hopeful, and actually if an Apple Card comes here, I will get it, I'm sure. But will it happen by September the something? Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
JP Morgan is an interesting choice. I mean, Goldman Sachs clearly almost instantly regretted going into this market. They abandoned it pretty quickly. They were never going to expand globally. Apple probably got locked into some weird contracts, never was able to find foreign banks when Goldman was basically fighting tooth and nail to get rid of this. And I'm sure if Apple opened up contracts with a foreign bank, Goldman would see that as a way to negate their contract and wouldn't put Apple into trouble because they didn't have someone to replace it. So they got into this stalemate of no expansion, stuck with Goldman Sachs until something comes up better. But there's a lot of weird stuff because JP Morgan Chase would be fine, but they're also not the best distributor. I'm not sure that I would really want them to get it, but I'm with you though on them being able to expand globally. Like that I think that would be instantaneous. I think they would take over and announce availability in the UK and other regions pretty quickly. So that would be a boon. But they're also, I don't know, I think they've had some weird stuff with their card systems. I don't know enough about it to get into, but I'm still hopeful that someone like Barclays might get into this. Everyone's asking for them to switch to Visa as their distributor instead of MasterCard, but I don't know. The whole thing is still odd. I just hope Apple Card survives all of this because I really enjoy Apple Card, and as long as the end result is it gets to live, I would like it to continue.
That was actually going to be my next thing. I mean, you're several years into it, presumably. You use it, you like it, it's worth... How does it compare to any other credit card that you might know?
Oh, it's probably worse as far as benefits go. If I used a different competitor's card the same way I use Apple Card, I'd probably be getting more points or like free flights or something. I don't know. I'm not a big credit card person. I'm aware that there's people out there with like 27 credit cards and they use one for French fries and one for hamburgers. But I don't do that. My financial system's actually pretty stable. It's very grounded, very simple. But how I've been using Apple Card is same as cash, and I pay it off at the end of each month. I've actually never paid $1 of interest on the Apple Card. I'm very proud of that. But yes, I use it for every purchase, except for PlayStation, because I got a PlayStation card just to differentiate a little bit, and I use that for video games on the PlayStation. But otherwise, every iTunes purchase, subscription, gas station stop, like I love it. I get to pull up at Exxon. I always stop at Exxon's because they have this deal where you get 3% cash back, and I can order the gas from my car, get from the app, pay with Apple Pay, get out, pump the gas, and never have to touch the actual pump system showing me ads and stealing my credit card information. So great. I've really enjoyed using Apple Card, and it's still fun. I like the physical card. It's a good fidget toy at the table. It just clangs when you throw it on the table. It's a lot of fun.
You mentioned the cashback things there. Are you finding that that's worth it? I mean, 3% of something small doesn't seem like it'll add up to much, but over time, is this actually a useful benefit?
It's a benefit. I can't speak to how much it's actually doing, but I didn't get an Apple Card immediately because my credit was funny because I was getting out of the military in 2019 when this thing launched. So I think I got it in 2021, if I remember correctly. So I've actually only had it for about 4 years. So looking at my lifetime daily cash received metric, I've received $2,577. That's not nothing.
No, it's good.
I mean, again, I'm sure there are other places that would do better in cashback incentives or points reward systems, but I prefer this because it's less complicated. There's no fees. I don't have to. There's really just no thought put into it. Whereas I think other cards, and I know people are going to email me and be like, "But this one's so much better." I don't care. I'm going to use Apple Card. It's tied to my ecosystem. The way I can the wallet app and the way you track all of the budgeting in there, it's just so nice. Once you put everything on Apple Card, that is my favorite budget tracking system.
I'm trying to work out a way to ask this. Form me a question because I'm not familiar with the card, of course. You say you pay off at the end of every month. Is that something you manually do? You go in and pay it, or is it an automatic thing so you never think about it at all?
Well, you can set up auto payments, which, depending on your budget, can be good or bad. For me, I prefer manually handling it because I want to go into the app. I want to see my recent transactions. I want to see how much I owe, that kind of stuff. And so every paycheck, I'm putting some money on it. But by the end of the month, there's probably some balance left. And it does really good with alerts. If you get down to the last 5 days of the month and you still have a balance, it says you better pay or you're going to accrue $4 in interest or whatever. So you go in and go ahead and pay that. Like, I prefer that to auto pay because right now my finances aren't good enough to just easily rely upon. All right, just empty my bank account into the Apple Card. I would prefer have a little bit more control over it. But again, I've had enough control and enough financial stability to make sure it's always interest free, which is nice.
There is a thing we do have here through Apple, which came through shortcuts maybe 3 years ago, that if you set it up all correctly and you automate whatever you have to automate, that when you buy something through Apple Pay, so I don't have the car, but I've got the watch and all this stuff, that it can automatically append details of your transaction to a spreadsheet. And I set this up. A friend helped me do it because it was so buggy at first, and it's still buggy. There are times when I'll pick up my phone and it has opened the spreadsheet, entered at the bottom. Other times it has entered it but didn't open the spreadsheet, and so many more times it says failed for a reason I can't determine. So I'm thinking, from my experience, Apple Finance stuff isn't massively reliable, but I presume this is an iOS and a shortcuts bug rather than anything else. Well,
so for again, not to tangent too far into my own finances, I suppose, but the way I've been handling it for a couple of years now, it was a long transition, right? I got out of the military. I had pretty significant debt because that tends to happen when you're in the military. Sure. Don't ask me why. It's just for some reason when you get out, especially in my situation, I had a very specific situation where I actually owed the military money, which was not ideal. But having to pay all of that back over the last few years has been made me have a very laser focus on my finances. I've paid off like $50,000 in debt in the last 5-6 years. So like but that's actually a sign of how well I've been able to handle my finances. Like I've really tackled this down. We're basically approaching debt free within the next couple of years, which is my goal. We're going to undo that by buying a house in the next year or so. But more specifically to this conversation, I used to have more cards spread out, making different payments in different places. So you'd look at my bank ledger, and it would be regular transactions with my debit card, payments here and there, bill payments, and all this stuff is a ledger a mile long. And using third-party software to track that was useful. But then Apple Card came around. I was eligible for one. I got into it. And now it took me about a year to do it, but I shifted everything to the Apple Card. Every bill that I can pay, I think there's 2 bills that demand I pay it through a debit card, or else I'll get some sort of fee. So I'd still, like, my bank statement is 2 bills, Apple Card payment, and my income. That is my entire bank statement now. Which is nice. There's like 4 transactions a month on my actual credit card statement, and then or my bank account statement. Then you look at the Apple Card, everything's on there. Every purchase I make, every gas station stop, every bill I pay, everything is in the Apple Card, categorized automatically. The categories aren't always particularly perfect, but they're good enough. And the Apple Wallet has become my financial app, basically, and it's nice. And that is where everything happens. And then as I get to the end of the month, I pay it off and I can see that zero out. So it's greatly simplified my financial situation relying on this single card. So,
well, that's brilliant of Apple Card, but also, I mean, congratulations for doing it. That's a massive thing, and you're on top of it.
Fun.
So
yeah, that it happens to the best of us. Mine wasn't student debt, like I said, it was military related, but it was similar, I guess, in a way to student debt. And this kind of stuff can bury a person. And yeah, like I said, it took some time and effort, but got it under control. And like we're buying a house next year, so it's under some kind of control. Yeah. I hope you get to take advantage of, if you do get an Apple Card, how will it work into your financial situation? Do you plan on using it for more than just Apple purchases?
Oh, well, I hope so, because I can't afford many Apple purchases for it. So, yes, my original plan when it was first announced, and I remember at the time writing about it, and I got so into the detail of what was good and bad about it that at the time I really understood it, and I was comparing it to my finances, and I was going to route everything through the Apple Card. I just never do. I managed to clear credit card debts as well and things like that, so I'm zero balance on my credit card. And it just occasionally, I know this is a UK thing, there are times when you need to use a credit card to keep it kind of alive, keep your credit score going, so every now and again I'll run something through it. But otherwise I'm spending as little as possible, except on Apple devices. Yeah,
this has been excellent for my credit too, of course. So just one of those things. Financial advice here, of course, not applicable. We're not financial managers. Do what you want to do. But yeah, we're not financial people. But I will recommend everyone go watch Financial Audit on YouTube, because that is a fun show.
Very I don't chaotic. Know that. All right.
Okay. I'm not a YouTube person, but when I was visiting friends in Virginia Beach, they showed us this program that apparently makes the rounds on TikTok as well as little clips. Again, I'm not on TikTok, so I just haven't seen it. And it's this show where this guy brings people on to tear them apart about their finances. And they voluntarily do it. They sign a release form saying, we agree to be insulted on camera. And he rips them a new one. And it's but it's also just good to see, like, what other people are doing and the mistakes they make, and learning not to make those mistakes. It's entertainment and educational all at once. So there's my YouTube recommendation for the year, I guess, because that's the only thing I'll probably watch on YouTube. Okay,
you're talking to a guy who has a YouTube channel, but no, never mind. This episode is brought to you by Constant Contact. You want to grow your business. I mean, of course you do. You didn't start a business to have it be stagnant. But if anyone ever did do that, well, then today, you know they have rivals that are working to take your customers. They're doing that with technology, and you will too. But as a business owner, you already know that the real growth comes from making the right pitch, the right persuasive sales case to the right person. You know your business, but Constant Contact helps you with that crucial part, the finding the right person, the right people, the right market audience for your company. So while you do what you got into business to do, Constant Contact helps you take on the kind of marketing you only usually get with a dedicated team. And actually, Constant Contact, it is a dedicated team. Even though every step is online and entirely under your control, Constant Contact makes it fast to create emails, social media posts, websites, whole marketing campaigns. It's a one-stop shop. It's an all-in-one platform. So everything works together, and you're not having to scrabble around for the right tool. You've got all of the right tools in front of you, and you pay for just what you need. Seriously, I signed up for the trial, and within an hour, a Constant Contact representative phoned me to discuss what I needed. And this was so important to me, what I did not need. So it wasn't a sales call pushing features I'd never used. It was all about shaping this enormously powerful tool to suit me. Find out for yourself. Get a free 30-day trial when you go to constantcontact.com. So try Constant Contact free for 30 days at constantcontact.com. That's constantcontact.com. And thanks to Constant Contact for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast.
Anyway, moving on. I labeled this section Not Controversy Corner because It's enough. It's riding that line. It's like, okay, we're going to talk about the government being mad about message filtering. We're going to be talking about the government establishing a healthcare update that relies on technology. And we're going to talk about the government suing Apple. These are going to touch on topics that people might not want to hear, but this is not going to be quote unquote controversy corner. That's coming later. So we will have two distinct sections in the show notes, or at the very least, these chapters will be labeled depending on how long they go. If they're short enough, we'll just do one blob, but pay attention to your podcast player. Skip if you hear anything you don't want to hear. And we will get to the end of the show after that. So first, William, not controversy corner, message filtering. So have you seen this story?
If I'm right, this is a thing where American politicians, I think it's particularly American, are concerned that the messages they send are going to get chucked in a bin automatically by iOS. Yes. So anybody who receives messages is very happy about this. Anybody who sends it is a bit upset.
So this is one of those nonpartisan issues. This is going to affect everyone on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans in the United States. I don't know what happens in the UK. I don't think you guys get these, but thankfully I don't get these. So if you're listening, government, don't add me to your lists. I don't want them. But what happens is, especially during political seasons, which it's always political season. Every 2 years there's a Congress election, and every 4 years there's a presidential election, and we're just always building to something. But especially in election years, whichever one it is, it ramps up drastically. And if you're on this list, it's really hard to get off of these lists because what happens is these political parties, the GOP, different fundraising things, specific candidates, the whole gamut, right? You could have 25 different people texting you about donations to their cause at any given point during these election seasons. Because what happens is they just grab all of these phone numbers and just throw message after message. Your government needs you. If you don't send us $20, we're all going to die. And there's actually a study that I included in this story, I think by CNN, that goes into detail about how not only aggressive these things are, but almost scammy. They actually rely on targeting older folk who don't even, some of them might even have dementia and don't realize they've already donated before and continue donating, and can harvest as much as 6 figures from an individual person, whether or not they realized that they were giving that much money or not. Some people do give that much money because they're just millionaires, multimillionaires, and want so badly for their candidate to win that they donate. But the problem is, so those whales is basically what they're hoping for. But in order to find them, they have to hit everyone. So what they're doing is, again, both political parties do this. This isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. This is everyone. They just flood the system. And so if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you're getting text message after text message. And some of them even say, like, Joe Biden needs you. Or they might even, like, try to address the text message as if Donald Trump is texting you personally. Hey, bro, I need $20, please. My election is on a hinge, and you're going to save it, right?
Right.
Anyway, so that's what that is, just trying to describe it for the world who's listening, because not everyone listening is from the United States. This is a real thing that happens all the time. Thankfully, I'm not on any of those lists, and I will block any that try to. And it is substantially lucrative. They make a lot of money doing this, apparently. They're cold calls, but cold texts, I guess, is what they are. They could lose as much as $500 million in revenue.
Okay.
That is an incredible number.
Yeah.
Across the Republican Party, because the people who are actually making this complaint are from the NRSC, the National Republican. I forget the rest of the words. Anyway, Here it is. National Republican Senatorial Committee. It's one of those many, many different donation peoples. The NRSC alone is estimated to lose $25 million because Apple's filtering system. This isn't spam filtering, by the way. Spam filtering for text messages has been a thing for a few years. This is call filter or text filtering for unknown senders. It's a new feature in iOS 26. It automatically sorts anyone that is not in your contacts that you have not texted or called before to a folder called unknown. And in order to get to that folder, you have to open the Messages app, click a filter icon in the top right corner, and select unknown senders. And then, and only then, will you see a list. Now, what's interesting is you get a little blue dot on the filter bubble if you have new notifications in there. So it's not completely invisible. But unless you're technologically savvy, which the people they're trying to collect money from are not, you're not going to know it's there and probably will never open it. And that's the danger. They're calling this basically an advanced spam filter. They think that they're going to basically disappear and never appear in people's messages again. So, William, is this a feature or a bug?
It's alien, is what it is. In the UK, I've not once heard of any of this. In fact, I'd like you to talk a little quieter in case somebody over here hears you. But then
the Queen's dog needs surgery, and if you don't donate now, it'll die.
Okay, I hate to break it to you, but the Queen has died a little while ago.
Did they bury the dog with her? Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, the King needs you. I obviously think this sounds like a feature, but particularly because of this, I'm a little unclear. Then this is obviously going through messages rather than old style text things. Messages being much bigger in the States than it is here, where WhatsApp's more common. It didn't used to. There was something strange with text messages in the States where you had to pay to receive text messages. I presume that's not the case with messages. That's free.
Yeah. So for decade now. I mean, so when iMessage became a thing and it was clear that internet messaging was going to take over and the classic SMS, which basically what SMS was is a protocol from 40 years ago that works over the classic phone lines and cell towers, basically. You're basically sending text over a phone connection. It previously cost money because it was a good way for them to make money, but it became cheaper and easier to do. And in order to compete with internet messaging, they basically had to make it free. And so it's been more or less free since like 2012 or something. People will remember, I remember a time when phone calls after 9 p.m. were free and texting up to a certain level was free. And that was how you had to do it. Nobody made a phone call during the day in the United States until about 2009. So anyway, yes, it is now basically free. I've not seen a cell phone contract in a decade that says anything about any kind of fee for text messaging. So it is coming across SMS. They're not iMessaging you. But because Apple uses messages as its SMS repository, these lawmakers are concerned that Apple has this unique position to basically block them from reaching their constituents.
I wonder if Google is going to do something similar, because it's probably a demographic difference between iPhone users and Android users. Users. I mean, you've mentioned before that the government gives certain people like a free Android phone so they can access services, but that automatically locks them out of this if they're on Android stuff. So just there might be a division in the makeup of the country of who is more susceptible by what phone. This is fascinating. Yeah.
As funny as it is, people do use iPhone and still vote Republican. So it's not a complete. Yeah, and again, I think the Democrats are angry as well. They just haven't written a letter. This is specifically in reaction to a letter the Republican group has written. Right. But I'm sure it will become a thing. And the letter is to their people to rise up against Apple and say, don't do this. They're basically it's a call to action of, you have until September to fix this. Otherwise we're going to lose all of our money. Whatever the case may be, it's not Apple's problem. So long story short, it's not up to Apple to make sure that these donation campaigns are able to make money. They evolved from door knocking to phone cold calls on the phone to text messages. They're just going to have to evolve to something else. And might I suggest email? And again, door knocking is still an option. And if you want to get a bunch of money, my thing is, I find it all pretty abusive and disgusting. I don't care who's calling me. If it was Bernie Sanders himself calling me on the phone asking for $20, I'd find it very disgusting, right? Mm. If I want to give you money and have the power to do so, I will go out of my way to make a donation. I know that's not always the case, that people need to be reminded that donation is possible. That's great. That's what commercials are for. That's what podcast ads are for, right? That's get to the people where they are. And I'm going to tell you, William, they're not in SMS texting. So maybe get out of that dinosaur now, that this is your siren call. Get out of there now, whatever you're doing, and find a better way. Create an NRSC, if that's the right initials, app, and have people download it and send them notifications asking for a donation. Create an App Store subscription and make them pay monthly to get a newsletter on your Republican Party app, right? Like, get to the 21st century with this stuff, because SMS is already dead and you're relying on it too heavily. And me personally, and I know a lot of people echo this, even the people diehards, right, who are super political, hate this stuff and will welcome this feature with open arms. I would love to find a single constituent that's like, oh no, my text message.
Right, actually, I've got to throw some, because you mentioned door knocking still being an option. A couple of elections ago here in the UK, a Tory, nearest equivalent to Republican, came up to my door and wouldn't look me in the eye. But then a Labour woman, so kind of Democrat if you like, came up to me and said she was there to listen, but she was wearing AirPods all the way through. Oh, I was just waiting for one of the other smaller companies to come up and just, not be able to talk to me. It had... the three classic monkeys, and I felt that described British politics very well. Yeah.
So this whole thing is fascinating. I could go on, but we have a little bit more to get to before we close up the show. U.S. healthcare is doing a thing, and it's not really a thing. I wanted to bring this up because we had a bit of a story on it. There wasn't much to say. There's a press release from the government itself, cms.gov, right? It stands for something. Who cares? It's something to do with medical. The current administration, love them or hate them, doesn't matter. This is just stuff these administrations do, have decided to revamp our healthcare system. They want to get away from paper and clipboards, and they want to digitize everything, which, again, regardless of who they are, not a bad idea. I like the idea of digitizing our medical system. It does lead to other issues, privacy being one of them, of potentially letting the government have access to your health data. All right, so let's get this out of the way from the top. So if you go to the hospital and you have a chart and you're seeing a doctor, the government is, there's this whole HIPAA thing, right? It's a privacy act. The government can't really subpoena medical records. That isn't changing. This new healthcare system is still going to rely on privacy and HIPAA. And I know, you can write me about the administration and how evil they are, whatever. We're not going to get into that. The bare bones basics of this is this system changes nothing about how privacy between the user and the healthcare provider works. What this is doing, and they're setting up this system that allows companies to develop a system that communicates directly with cms.gov to exchange information. Spoiler, it already exists. This is mostly just a PR push to claim something because they want their Make America Healthy Again thing to sound cool. So they're basically claiming something that's already existed. I currently have medical records from a hospital and the VA in Apple Health using a CMS handshake system that already exists, that has existed for over a decade, that Apple Health has tapped into for a long time. I can receive my medical records, and if my provider allows it, mine does not, I can send them information on a case-by-case basis about myself from my health app. So if they wanted to do a sleep study on me, I could send them my sleep data, for example. that has existed for a long time. And basically what the government is doing is saying, we're taking claim of this existing. And Apple, Google, and other companies, 60 companies, have all agreed to make sure that their systems are up to date to allow this handshake to continue happening. That is this entire story. So I want to be clear that nothing is changing about how data is collected and stored. The government isn't spying on your health data. Apple isn't giving the government Apple Health data, right? Because Apple doesn't have Apple Health data. It's end-to-end encrypted in the first place. The user, though, can opt to send specific data to their provider if they choose to using the system.
Well, you mentioned actually in AppleInsider Plus last week that you read your medical records through Apple Health, and I meant to ask you about that, folks. We have a similar thing going on here, that it just seems to be taking a long time to come, and I'm not sure what isn't possible. But I do know, for example, my mum had a problem in Ireland. I'm in England, she was in Ireland, and the only doctor available gave her a dosage of something that he would not have given her if he had been able to see her records. I mean, it helped, it fixed the problem, but it caused problems. So, yeah.
So the thing is that our job's always made harder by mainstream news. AP News is a publication a lot of people read, and they misreported this. Okay. And it was frustrating because I saw a lot of people coming into my Blue Sky timeline with this report, and I made a few posts trying to clear it up. But AP News said that these 60 companies, including Apple, Google, etc., agreed to give patient data to the government, which is not what is happening, period. Right. Zero. I don't know what Google and the others are doing, but I can at least speak to Apple. They don't have patient data to give to the government. And so this led to the usual call, and this is why this is not Controversy Corner, but this is a statement that I'm going to make. A lot of people were saying, delete your period trackers. I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with that. If you're using a third-party period tracker, unless you have read the terms of service word for word, delete it off of your phone and use the Apple Health period tracker that is end-to-end encrypted on device and actually quite useful. Just putting that out there. Apple does not have your health data. They're not sharing it with the government. And I hope that this U.S. healthcare digitization thing that they're doing works, because it will be great. Our paper is fine, but it is inefficient. The thing that I disagree with is the government is also mandating AI healthcare, where you can dump your data into a robot and have it tell you what's wrong with you. They're also going to have AI consultantry and stuff like that. That's the stuff I disagree with. That's a little bit more implementation. That's not part of this conversation. But the wider aspect of, you have a device, it's tracking your health already, and being able to access your healthcare information and give information to your doctor using a handshake from your already available, fully encrypted, safe and private device is excellent. They want to do dietary programs. They want to do exercise programs. This is all great for us, as long as it's handled right. And if you're using Apple, I think we're good. I don't know what Google's going to do. I don't know what anyone else is going to do. But Apple isn't going to suddenly open up the health app, make it unencrypted, and start giving it to the government. That's just not something that's going to happen. I think we're safe here. So I just want to point out that this is a good development for some aspects. As always, be wary, trust in the technologies that you trust in, and read the fine print. But I think this is going to be interesting. I like the fact that I can get my blood drawn on a Friday, and by Monday-ish, I'm getting my results without having to have a doctor call me and tell me my results. I can just see it in the Apple Health app. And the Apple Health app tells me, this is in range, this is good, this is bad, and I can read about it in the Apple Health app. That's awesome. More of that, please. And when we get Apple's AI assistant in the health app that tells all of this in addition to that, I think it's going to be really excellent, and that it's going to be private and on device. But if you're an Android user and you want to give all your health data to the government, that's your choice. But that is not being made for you, right? That's what I wanted to get clear. So we got to wrap up. A couple more things here at the end.
I'm thinking actually Apple's missing a trick, isn't it? Not selling our health data. They could make a bum out of that. So, yeah.
Right. No, I it gets back to the iPhone guy conspiracy thing. I understand the fear and I understand the need to be cautious, but it's my job to understand these things and educate people. And I'm telling you guys here listening now, you're safe on iPhone. If that changes, I will let you know, but you're safe on iPhone. As long as you're using the right apps, reading the fine print, get rid of your third-party period trackers, seriously. So one last thing, Apple, we don't need to dive into detail because this is going to be going on for 40 years. Yes. Apple hit back at the DOJ's antitrust suit with a line-by-line breakdown of why they were wrong. It's a really fun, not fun, but it's actually quite boring because every line is C line this, C line this. We already said this, C line this, you're just wrong. But basically, Apple took 238 paragraphs to tell the government they were wrong. And great. We'll see how that goes. It's not going to go well. I'm sure we're just going to end up with a United States version of the DMA at the end of this, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, I wanted a rapid-fire controversy corner because this is controversial because we're going to talk about tariffs. We mentioned it a little bit at the beginning with Apple's earnings call, but this is literally, I wonder if it'll even, it's going to be a chapter, but it's going to be like a 2-minute chapter, William. So here we go.
Okay, I'm always trying to work out what the chapter artwork for Not Controversy Corner will be, but we'll get there. In this case, your quick fire round. Controversy Corner starts now with no.
Yeah, well, so India. Apple has been moving their stuff to India. Great, it's gotten them out of China. It accelerated their goals post-COVID. Apple's got like 25, 30%, 40%. I can't remember the exact number, but they have a large number of their iPhones coming to the United States already from India to help alleviate concerns with tariffs. And then Donald Trump says that he's probably going to enact a 25%-ish tariff on India. Then immediately in the same breath walks it back and says no trade has been signed. But he's also not happy with India because they have unilaterally high tariffs. Whatever his reasoning is, because there's really no reasoning, there's going to be some kind of tariff on India. It could be 25%. It could be 50%. We'll see what happens when it happens. August 1st is this magical deadline. As you listen, if there's tariffs, you'll know, I guess. But this will clearly impact Apple because this is their sanctuary. They have nowhere else to go. They can't just suddenly pick up, okay, well, India's bust. Let's go to Uzbekistan. All right. It's not going to happen. So that means that we are now faced with how is Apple going to eat this cost? And most likely they're going to pass it to us. And there's rumors that their iPhone 17 lineup could see a $50 price hike across every model except the base model.
I should say, because I looked into this, every time Apple Insider comes across this story, we, of course, check out the source. Now, usually, if a source like this, in this case an analyst, even indicates where they've got this from instead of they're just expecting, well, we examine that. But if we can't, we examine the analyst. And in this case, I had to search for so long to find whether this guy had ever said anything about Apple, let alone right or wrong, just ever about it. And I think it's 6 or 7 years since he last commented, and I couldn't work out from what he said then whether it turned out right or not. So it is one person with not the best background saying it'll probably happen. But if he's right, this means the iPhone 17 Pro will increase from $999 to over $1,000, and Apple has held that price since the iPhone 11 Pro. So
I think, so the $50 I think is not quite right. Honestly, I think it's going to be higher. I think Apple will do a $100 price hike across the board this fall.
I think it'll be a price hike outside America because that has happened before. Outside the home market, I think it's likely.
I think it's maybe they could subsidize it using the globe. I think if there's a price hike in the U.S., there's a price hike globally. I think it's universal.
Yeah.
But you're right. There is a chance Apple could target other markets with a price hike and not raise prices in the United States, subsidizing it using the global market. I don't think that'll be the case this time. But it will be interesting to see how Apple walks this. Are they going to blame it on tariffs? Are they going to put it in the receipt and say this is for tariffs, and when the tariffs go away, they take it out of the price? Will they be able to in a few months or a few weeks, depending on when Trump inevitably pulls out of this new tariff thing, because he just generally does waffle a lot? Are they going to lower prices again? Are we stuck with the high prices forever? I don't know. This is unprecedented. This is unique territory we've never seen before. We have no idea what Apple's going to do here. So we'll just have to wait and see. Analysts can guess all day long. We can talk about it all day long. Apple might have figured out a way to just make it come out of the Mac Pro or something. I don't know. They could charge $1,000 more for that per unit sold or something and cover everyone's iPhone costs. Who knows? We'll just have to see how they maneuver this. They could use the supply chain. They could force suppliers to lower their prices of components to make up for the difference in costs, which they've done before already. So there's only so much wiggle room. Yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting situation to be in. We have no idea how it's going to turn out. So this is just one of those wait and see moments. But that's it for Controversy Corner. Just a quick one. All eyes are on India right now as we approach iPhone 17 and how Apple wants to handle the next generation of iPhone during tariff season. So now, one last story before we close up. I wanted to point out that Skechers has a new shoe with an AirTag compartment. Are you going to get one of these, William?
I'd never heard of Skechers before, but I think, aren't they kind of fitness training things, what we might call sneakers in the UK? Yeah, that's trainers. Really my market. Trainers. Yeah, that's me.
It took me a long time to realize, reading books set in Britain, that's what that was referring to, is a shoe. I don't know what
kind of books were you reading that had those
Harry
in?
Potter.
I mean, okay, right.
Yeah.
Not big in Jane Austen's time. Not the sort of shoe weather that would have come out there, but okay, right.
So anyway, Skechers, it's a very popular brand. It's been around since my childhood. I remember especially it being a kids-friendly brand. I know that you can buy Skechers as an adult, but they've been around forever. You can put an AirTag in a shoe. Sure. I hope the radio signal is strong enough to get out of the shoe compartment through the human body above it, but I guess it's fine. Tracking humans with AirTags is kind of a no-go, especially since I wonder how this would work, because the kid wouldn't necessarily have an iPhone. Some kids might, to attach the AirTag to. So it might be the parent's AirTag, and then the kid without a device, especially now in Tennessee, they've banned all phones and Apple Watches from schools recently. So there's just zero anything at school. So if you send your kid to school without any devices with an AirTag in their shoe, does that mean all the teachers are going to get, you're being tracked by an AirTag alerts?
Yes.
And are they going to get 36 per classroom, right?
And the kids aren't going to get anything, ever. So if they are being tracked in any untoward way, because they don't have a phone to give them an alert. No, the AirTag can make a noise, can't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then everyone in class, their shoes are going to start beeping.
Yes. Okay.
I guess, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this, unless you're worried about losing the shoes. Because again, this isn't a person tracker. Don't use this to track your persons. Put one on your kid's backpack because you don't want to lose their backpack maybe. But tracking a human with an AirTag, it's not really their purpose. But if you want to track your kid, buy them an Apple Watch, unless your schools ban them. Something, because then your Apple Watch with a cellular connection on a kid's account, you can see them wherever they are, and they're not going to take off a watch usually, unless your kid decides to take off a watch. That's your kid's problem. But I find, and yes, it's more expensive by a little bit. You can get a $200 Apple Watch with cellular for sale. Strap it to your kid's wrist. Way more expensive than a $30 tracker. But then you also have to buy the shoe. I don't know how much the shoe is. I don't know. The whole $58 is where they starting price. So you're out $100 for a shoe and an AirTag, I guess, versus $200 for an Apple Watch. So choose your poison. I think this is fine, I guess, but now I've seen a lot of parents say, okay, now do socks, because they have a much harder time finding their kids' socks once they come off of their feet. That's the bigger issue.
But an AirTag per sock, so that's 2, even on any... Apple would
Apple
love
should get
this.
into the business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should be selling Find My Socks. $50 a pair.
It sounds like a terrible game, doesn't it? Okay, Find My Socks. Okay.
By Hasbro.
Yes.
So, oh no. Tim Cook operation just came into my head.
Okay.
Apple, yeah, you pull little iPhones out of his chest cavity. Moving, you never played
Yes,
Operation?
please. Oh, right. Okay, I see what you mean. I was thinking Alien there rather than games, but okay. You said moving on, and I would like us to. Yes, please.
Yes, okay. I think that's it for today. We don't really have anything to get into as far as podcast reviews. None this week, none in the last couple of weeks. We may have finally hit podcast review saturation. So, if you're listening and you've never left a review, go leave a review. If you have left a review that was maybe 1 star, let's say over audio issues or other things before, maybe you started before Controversy Corner started and you were upset that we were sprinkling politics in too much, you can update your review. Apple Podcasts lets you do that. So that's also an option. We're happy to check those out as they come through as well. But please go leave a review. Tell us what you think of the show. Tell us what you think of the topics. You can always suggest topics for Apple Insider Plus. If you would like to listen to Apple Insider Plus, it is a paid subscription. You can get that through Apple Podcasts and Patreon. Also, if you aren't on Apple Insider Plus, you're going to hear this part where we thank our sponsors, IDOU and Constant Contact. Thank you again for sponsoring our podcast. And thank you all for listening. William, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, I keep trying to push you towards my YouTube channel, so I'll have one. We'll go with that. 58 keys on YouTube for writers, really specifically, but a lot of technology stuff in there as well. Otherwise, William at AppleInsider.com, and I love email, so email is definitely a preference. And I presume you must still be Wes at AppleInsider.com.
Yes, and I put out a post on Blue Sky to see if we could attract anyone. I got one from a listener. I guess it's public, so I'll say it's Dr. Jonathan Leach is the user. Thank you for the podcast. They listen every week. Very good. And even William's being too quiet has been resolved. Very happy with our show. And they've just upgraded to 18.6, but not the beta. So thank you for reaching out and telling us about that. So if you don't want to leave a podcast review, I'm probably going to try to remember to post something about pre-release podcast stuff every week, so you guys can comment there. If we can get it into the show, we will. But yes, you can find me on Blue Sky, Mastodon. I'm back to my weekly post on my blog. Hopefully we'll find more time to post more than weekly, but at the very least, weekly. If you see my most recent blog post from last week, it has a photo of the cabin in there that I stayed at, so there you go.
Oh.
Yeah. Right. And I appreciate everyone for listening. I hope you guys join us next week. And if you are an Apple Insider Plus subscriber, stick around. We're going to be talking about Living with the Betas Part 2. So, thanks again. Talk next week.